How's it going, Critter Family? Hope you all are doing well. Today we are going over a video by Jason Harris Dog Training, How to Manage a Reactive Dog, Tips from a Dog Trainer. So we're just going to take a look at this. This video, as with every video I do, is being used under the Fair Use Act for criticism and educational purposes. Nothing personal, no hate towards anybody in this video. There's nothing personal against them. This is just being used to educate the public on different opinions, educated opinion versus maybe not so educated opinion on dog training, and how I would do things differently. And I'm providing commentary. I'm just saying all this to, prevent any false copyright strikes in the future. So anyway, with all that out of the way, let's just take a look.
This reactive dog training session is with a 10-year-old dog named Boston. Now, the owners have called me after a recent incident with a dog, wanting to know how to manage their dog around other dogs. They don't have a goal of their dog being friends with dogs. They realize their dog is 10 years old. It's
Okay, that's fair.
For a long time, and its reactivity comes from...
That's actually, I think, really important to understand, that a lot of times people want their dog and expect their dog and have unrealistic expectations of their dog to make friends with every other dog they meet. Your dog is just like a person. Some people, like myself, are introverts, and I don't like to make friends with everybody I meet. I might be very friendly, but that doesn't mean that I necessarily want to make friends with everybody. That doesn't mean I'm going to make friends with everybody. A lot of people don't like me. A lot of people don't know me. A lot of people just, are indifferent to me, and that's totally fine with me. So I don't expect my dog to make friends, especially not a 10-year-old dog who is just living their life, being a little doggy, and they may make friends and they may not. So that's good that those people have those realistic expectations of their dog. And I feel like a lot of trainers expect dogs that they work with to be okay with every other dog they work with. I feel like they put that unrealistic expectation on the owners that your dog needs to be able to make friends with every dog that they meet and blah, 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 blah. And I just don't think that's fair.
Fear. Now, the truth is, you're not going to get a 10-year-old dog to suddenly not be scared of dogs. So what we do during the session is I give the owners the skills to teach this dog how to control its emotions around dog. In other words, it's not about them making them like other dogs.
Okay.
But we want to send a message to a dog that what is a behavior we would deem as acceptable and set a criteria for that, and rinse and repeat and go forward and do that over and over and over until we get a
So
dog
I wouldn't say necessarily the behavior that I find to be acceptable and unacceptable. I want the dog to feel comfortable around dogs. That's more like, that's more what I think of is, okay, is my dog comfortable, or is the client's dog comfortable around dogs at this stage or not? And then set criteria for that, versus what we find is to be acceptable and unacceptable. If a dog is nervous and that dog right there that we just saw is reacting out of fear, then if anybody else is fearful of a stranger, they're saying, no, get away from me. I don't like you. Stay away from me. There's a bear trying to attack me, Mom. There's something else, a lion trying to attack me. Then, if we were to tell them, no, that's unacceptable, then they just end up shutting down. They stop showing that emotional, state of mind, and they end up either developing learned helplessness, or they shut down, or it pops up somewhere else. We push it down in one hole and it pops up out of another hole. We push that down, it pops up out of another place. So instead of having the criteria of what is acceptable and unacceptable, I want to make sure my dog is either comfortable. Oh, goodness. Ellie's choking on some water, but she'll be okay. She does this kind of often. So if you hear that kind of honking noise in the background, that's her. You okay, baby girl? She drinks water kind of awkwardly. All right, I think she's good. But anyway, so let's just continue on.
I don't have to like a dog, but I have to try and control my emotions around dogs. A lot of people comment often saying, change the emotional connection, work at a threshold, work...
Right, absolutely. Absolutely.
It can be 100 meters from a dog and the dog will react. 80 meters, 70, 65, you get the idea working down.
Well, I've worked with dogs like that, and you know what? Too bad. That's where we work. I mean, it's tougher. It's a lot more difficult, but you don't just go start at a whatever distance just because it's easier for you to start correcting the dog.
So we simply have to start at a stage where the dog will react and then work from there.
No, you don't start at a stage where the dog will react. Oh, goodness. Are you okay? You hit your head on that. You all right? Oh, he also left a message in one of my last video that I did covering him, and he was like, I finally made it in dog training now that I've been covered by you, or now that I've been reviewed by you. Cheeky little guy.
In this session, my microphones drop out, my speakers drop out, and unfortunately I don't catch a couple of things. And one of the really important things that's said by the owner that made my day was he has never seen his dog this close to a dog without trying to attack it.
Well, the results might be great, but how you get those results is that much more important, because eventually this dog may just blow up, and this dog may try to attack another dog. That's why threshold training is so important. That's why using positive reinforcement is so important versus anybody can use corrections with the dog. It is so easy to use corrections with the dog. Start with them when they're over threshold, just pop, 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 correct and punish. It's so easy to do that. I'm assuming he's probably going to get the dog out of the harness and put him on some kind of a collar, some kind of a training collar, whether it's a slip lead, it's as thin as this around the dog's neck, or if it's a prong collar or a shock collar or a combination of the two. I bet he's probably going to do that with this dog.
In a dog trainer's mind is the best thing to ever hear. It's amazing to hear these sorts of things. And as I explained in the session, there's an element of what I would call necessary stress to help a dog like this. Using the advice a lot of people will tell an owner to run the other way, don't go here, don't go here, may seem like a fix to a lot of people, but in most people's eyes, I'd say that's avoiding the problem. That doesn't mean...
I agree too. I mean, there's stuff I agree with him on, there's stuff I disagree with him on. It's not about being right or wrong. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying that he's wrong. I'm talking about what is necessary and what is unnecessary. In my opinion, I'm just giving my opinion. Who cares what I think? He certainly doesn't, and he doesn't need to. Nobody else needs to care what I think, but I'm going to put my opinion out there anyway, and hopefully people who are willing to listen will listen, and hopefully that can help people. Because in the end, that's what I'm doing this for, is to help dogs and help people realize you don't have to listen just because somebody gets results. You don't have to listen to them just because they're famous or just because they have a lot of followers, or because they don't have a lot of followers doesn't mean that they don't know what they're talking about. So, creating necessary stress. I mean, yes, in doing so, you're going to create a little bit of stress, using pressure and release, which is what I do when not pressure and release as in pressure and release on the leash or the shock collar or anything like that. But if I'm getting a dog used to a lawnmower, say, and the dog is afraid of a lawnmower, I'm going to move the lawnmower a little bit. I'm going to move it towards the dog and away from the dog. And the dog kind of might freak out a little bit at first. Then I'm going to move it again, stop, wait for the dog to respond, again, stop, wait for the dog to respond. So that would be stimulus, response by the dog, which is to not move, and then reward the dog afterward for not moving, for not freaking out, for not going after the lawnmower. That's kind of I guess you could say a necessary stress, but it's not necessarily necessary. I can train a dog at a threshold where they're not even stressed at all. That's the goal, is to not have to have a necessary stress. If you're in a dire situation, you may have necessary stress, or you may have some stress, but I'm not going to call it necessary. That could be, if a dog blows up or whatnot, you need to just drag him out of there, then that's not necessary, to happen. Where did it go? Sorry, Ellie muted me. I'm not going to call that necessary.
We need to create extreme stress for a dog, but there may be some stress to go through to get to the other side. And you will see this in the session from the start to the end, and the difference in this dog behavior. And that's not through fear. The dog doesn't bark at the dog because it's shut down and is scared of the owners. The complete opposite. We just managed to break through, interrupt behaviors, and get to the other side and have a dog that is a lot more relaxed. Enjoy. Enjoy.
So we got a dog already popped in a tiny little slip lead. Dog is calm here. Reward the dog here. Keep that dog at a distance where it is. I don't know if they're in a dog park or not, but if they're at a dog park, then this is not where I would set them up. I would set them up outside of a dog park, so that way we can move at whatever distance we need to get as far away from the dog park as we can and keep the dog where they look like this. I don't know if the owner or anybody is forcing this dog into a down. If they are, then I wouldn't force them into a down. I would just wait for them to offer a down, and I would reward.
Environment, obviously not as comfortable.
So this dog is not helping because this other dog is already like really, really excitable. They're getting way too close. I don't know if they're doing this for a before and after, but this is not going to help the dog.
What if you? That's a good thing. What if you can't? How would you? What would be an idea you think you would try and do? So it's a distance thing, obviously, and obviously very fear-based. Tail down fairly low. Okay, not standing really tall. Definitely a lack of confidence in this dog. Ears pinning back, even when the camera went on there. I'll walk around again.
So here you could allow the dog, before the dog freaks out, you could be rewarding the dog. You know, you don't have to cross the street entirely. The dog was laying down just fine, seemed fine when the dog was across the little pen area there. And you could have been rewarding there.
Wanted to see that initially construction. So this here, like 100%. This is
Tail tucked, afraid of the stranger. I wouldn't be taking the dog's leash. I don't know why all these trainers feel they need to take the dog's leash and take them away from the owner. It's perfectly fine there with the owner. So what if they're attached to the owner? I don't care. That's natural for them to want to be attached to their owner. And being with a stranger is not going to help anything. But the stranger, the trainer in this case, the stranger here being the trainer, has to be able to give the dog pops and corrections that the owner can't.
Harness here. See how if I try to pull forward, he'll slip out of the harness. This is the problem with harnesses. Yeah, because all the...
So this is his excuse for putting on, I'm assuming, a slip lead on this dog.
And harnesses, they show you the dog going forward, so they can't come out of it, but not the dog pulling backwards.
And they have anti-slip harnesses made for dogs that have an extra buckle here below the belly. They have all sorts of tools like that. But the dog is not trying to get away from the owner. The dog is trying to get away from you, the stranger.
So they can be really risky in that way. So I would look at the equipment going to either a collar, that's a collar that can expand and go small.
He's probably talking about a slip lead. Something like this. That tightens and loosens is probably his excuse for a slip lead. Maybe a martingale, or he's going to talk about a prong collar or something like that.
Smaller on their neck, a martingale style collar.
Okay, martingale.
Or a slip lead or something
Yep,
else.
told you,
This
slip
is the
lead.
risky part, the harness. Okay?
It's only risky when the dog is trying to get away from you, the stranger. It's not risky for the owners unless he's trying to get away and back out of it normally, trying to get away from the owners as well. It doesn't look like he's trying to get away from the owners. Then I would just have a better fitting harness. I would get a harness that's adjustable with a strap right around here, around the shoulder area right here. And I would make sure that I have I just use a different harness. You don't need a slip lead or a martingale. I mean, for some dogs that do slip out, like Adonis, if I did just have him on a collar, then I would have him on a martingale because he could slip out because he had so much skin around his neck and his double coat and his fluff that if I had the collar too loose, like during winter, I would have it sized one way, and then during spring when he lost all his hair, it would be too big for him because I was making up for the fact that he had all his double coat. So when he lost that double coat, then the collar was too big for him and he was able to slip out of it. So I always had a martingale and I always had to adjust it for him. And over time, as he got older and Shibas get that skin around their face, then they get kind of trapped. That skin kind of gets trapped behind, the collar gets trapped behind that skin, so they can't really slip out.
By me taking him away from you, it's not to try and stress him out, but again,
it is stressing him out.
95% of dogs, would be. He wants to react to those dogs. 2 seconds, Shani. 2 secs. Not yet. Reinforces what I've said.
I hear someone saying no in the background.
Confidence away from you. Okay, so he's still going to react even with Shani.
So who cares if he's confident? I want him to be confident. I don't want him to be confident to the point where he's reactive. But I want him to be confident and comfortable. He doesn't need to be with me, the trainer. He doesn't need to be with a stranger. He can be with his owners, and we can keep him under threshold.
And I'll do nothing. I just want to see him with me. I'm sure he'll still
And then we're
react.
going to trade him to out of the harness into probably a slip lead. This dog's on a tiny slip lead. This dog is on something that's the equivalent of this. And it tightens. And as it tightens and it loosens, as it tightens, it gets popped. That's the equivalent of this. Don't try this at home, by the way. Leave it to the stupid professional to show you. That's the equivalent of what this beautiful dog has on here. And she's just popping. And this is way too close for this dog to be so unnecessary. You still have to push the butt down. This dog's not paying any attention to you. Poor training of the person, poor training of the dog. He doesn't need to correct the dog. He's way too close to the other dog. And this dog, he says that the dog would react at 100 meters. I don't see this dog reacting with the owners with this dog, at the distance that they were in that small little penned area. So I don't think the dog needs to be 100 meters away like Zeus was, or like Newt is, a new dog that I'm working with. Zeus is on my channel, where he had to be, 2 football fields away, and he would still see a dog and react. And we finally got him over that to a degree. That's a long story, but he doesn't need to be correcting this dog, telling him enough. He's not helping this dog anywhere. He's just stopping the dog from reacting. And he's just getting, he's saying good, and the dog is staring at the other dog. And the owners think it's good. So he doesn't need to be tapping him, yanking him around, jerking him.
So all I did there was...
Totally unfair, totally unnecessary. This guy shows his lack of education and understanding of dogs and training. I don't think he's a good trainer. He could tell me I'm full of it and I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't care. I think he's a sucky trainer. The fact that he's just forcing this tail tucked dog, and he's just doing whatever Cesar Millan does, where he just taps the side of them and he's going to say, I'm just getting their attention. No, sawed off. Okay. That's not what you're doing.
Because I think we'd agree, the talking just doesn't do anything.
Well, yeah, no, duh, talking doesn't do anything.
Blah, blah, blah. I don't care. You can talk what you want. But by interrupting his behavior, because all
you don't need to interrupt his behavior. You need to prevent the behavior. And you're not touching him like this. You're jabbing him on his little body. So even if you say, that's not a lot, that doesn't look like a lot, but that hurts. That's enough to cause, you need to tap him hard enough to get his attention. You're not just tapping him with love taps. Otherwise, he would ignore it just like the talking. You have to jab him. You jab him hard enough to move his body away. Don't be telling me that you're just touching him.
It wasn't hard. He didn't yelp.
Just because he didn't yelp doesn't mean it didn't hurt. Doesn't mean it stopped his behavior. It was enough of a punishment to stop his behavior from reacting. So that was punishment enough. Your correction was a punishment. It's not just I'm correcting you and you're ignoring it. That was a punishment to the dog. You moved his body. Do we need to watch it again? We'll watch it again and I won't be talking.
Hey.
Moved his body again. Tail tucked when he did it the second time. This dog tucked its tail and stopped its reacting when he did his little tap.
Enough.
Fearful. Still staring, still stressed. He tells him good, even though he's staring at the other dog.
No.
Tail tucked, jerks him around. Then we have another dog come in. Harness is not a good piece of equipment because the harness is perfectly fine. You just don't know what the hell you're doing. So you think the harness is not good. You're just like any other dummy on here that talks about like, no, the harness isn't good. The harness is only made for pulling. The harness isn't made for blah, blah. Because you're not supposed to be correcting the dog with the harness the way you do with your slip lead, with your choking noose of a collar. The harness is not meant for correction. It's not a tool or a piece of equipment that is meant to cause pain or discomfort to the dog.
Equipment.
Dumb human, smart dog.
I said in the introduction to this video, Boston is a 10-year-old dog.
So see, he is perfectly fine with his dog. I don't know what this liar is talking about when he says this dog would react 100 meters away. He's perfectly fine here with this dog over here. He's probably more fine because of this dummy here, and who knows how long they've been correcting this dog for. Now he has him on a collar, and he's going to be popping the dog on a collar, and then eventually he'll probably move to a slip lead.
This can make it very challenging to change emotional connections towards.
And the fact that you need every other dog on a slip lead shows that you don't know how to work them until they're actually reliable in anything other than your slip lead. This guy relies on slip leads and corrections. Another trainer who relies on slip leads and corrections.
The best thing we should be aiming for at Boston is really to just make Boston a bit more comfortable around dogs with a lot of controlled interaction, which is what we're doing here. Boston at this stage
and corrections.
On the collar that the owner had on the dog. And the reason I'm bending down, I'm just monitoring Boston's behavior very closely, trying to really...
They're trying to set him up for failure. They're really pushing this dog's limits by doing this. I would have the dog walk over and then walk away and give him a couple of minutes to reset. And then I would come over, walking over, and yeah, it's going to take time. You're not entitled to quick training like that.
Behavior, which will be that little air scent, rather than any reactive behavior, which you will see in a second. Boston has a slight lunge towards this dog.
Because you've been putting so much pressure on him. You're trying to get this dog as close as you can. When the threat finally moves away, then Boston feels more comfortable to go in for the attack. Because you've been putting pressure on him here this entire time. This is pressure. This is release.
The best thing we should be aiming for.
Coming back, pressure, 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 pressure. Walking away, release.
Interaction, which is what we're doing here. Boston at this stage is still on.
Coming back, pressure, 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 release.
And the reason I'm bending down, I'm just monitoring Boston's behavior.
Coming back again, pressure, 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 release.
Acceptable behavior, which would be that
so all of that you're putting on there is building up in Boston because he's not getting enough release of this pressure. It's minor amounts. That's why I talk about moving the dog further away so that way Boston has room to breathe. This little dog here, this little guy right here has time to breathe and really learn and take in his what he just learned, that this dog has been around him. Okay, this dog has been around him too long.
Rather than any reactive behavior, which you will see in a second. Boston has a slight lunge towards this dog.
And that's your fault as a trainer.
He's coming from a place of fear, just really uneducated around dogs in a controlled way. So the focus in this session is to just build Boston's confidence a little bit with a lot of controlled interactions.
Now we have him on a different collar.
Boston is now on a checkmate collar, which is similar to a martingale collar. Now, what you'll notice...
Checkmate collar. Is that like a star mark collar? Okay, no, I just looked it up and it is just a similar to a martingale collar. So that's great. But I think that the harness would have been just fine.
Here the difference is Boston
so now he's using food to move him past, which is great. But he didn't need to he's not going to rely on that.
Which is just being a little tactile on Boston when he had a lunge at a dog. No more than a tap on the
See, this is all you need to do, and it's not a tap on the shoulder. You jabbed him in the shoulder, you made him move, you made his tail tuck. Don't lie and say it's just a little tap on the shoulder. A tap on the shoulder would not get his attention. You have to make it hard enough to correct and stop the behavior. And the dog found that as a punishment because it stopped his behavior. This is all you need to do. Just get rid of the middleman of the correction and the punishment.
As I say previously, a lot of people talk about changing emotional connection.
Stress dog.
The thing that the dog doesn't like. With a 10-year-old dog, it's going to be very challenging. So we have to interrupt those.
I wouldn't get his attention. I mean, I wouldn't get him so active to where he's going to get really excited because that might cause him to react more. So no, you should be only using, I mean, in my opinion, I think all you need to do is just use the food as a reward and just start at a distance where the dog is fine. This dog is clearly not, 100 meters away where he can be, where he can only be 100 meters away from a dog. I think that was just a bunch of baloney, or maybe an over-exaggeration from the owners that they said that. But, because he seems perfectly fine to be around a dog that's maybe 10 feet away from him. And then I would work at that 10 feet. That's so much easier than being 100 meters away. So I'd work at 10 feet away. And then I would just reward him for being able to move back and forth, being able to be stationary while the other dog moves back and forth, and so on and so forth. And then we get closer and closer. I don't need to use any kind of corrections or punishment.
Presenting food, in most cases, will not be powerful enough with a dog like Boston.
No, it absolutely will, and it is, because I know that, because I specialize in this. If they are over threshold, they don't take food. If they don't take food, they're over threshold. So you move them below threshold. It's not that hard. It just takes a little bit of patience and understanding of how to keep a dog below threshold when they look like this, when they can take treats like this. The dog's tail is still tucked, starting to come up again. He's trying to move away from the dog, and you're forcing him to go near the dog. Even though you're using food, this is way too much pressure. He wanted to move away from the dog. Let him move away from the dog.
So it's still going to be very challenging. But now we have got a lot more excitable.
So now he's gotten excited, which is you're working way too fast with this dog. And this dog, this cute dog, overweight, has a tiny little slip lead on their neck. That's like the equivalent of being on my neck. This tiny little slip lead on this big dog's neck. This kind of slip lead doesn't need to be on Boston's neck either. Only one who needs a slip lead is this guy. Needs to be on his neck to show him how these dogs feel. They rely on pain and fear and force and intimidation.
A little bit, but the reality is these people walk their dog in a neighborhood where they're going to come across dogs. So my job as a trainer,
so she's tapping this dog on the side to get him to turn.
Manage Boston's behavior if they
But most people aren't standing there forcing their dog to put up with another dog that is playing. You're walking by them. You're not sitting there by a dog that's playing. And if they are, then you can walk away. You're not forcing your dog. You shouldn't be forcing your dog to just sit there and put up with it.
A bad interaction with a dog, they need to learn how to control these situations. We can't live in a world where
reward there. Reward for that. Reward for that.
Because we can't control every factor in the environment.
Reward for that.
Dogs. So it's vital that we give
There was 3 moments you could have rewarded, and this guy is way too slow.
Reward their dog.
Oh, big reward for that.
And interrupt behaviors if they need to do it. Which you can see here, we've now got a dog facing the owner, which is...
It's so much easier to just correct a dog than it is to reward them.
Now, when you see Boston start to go like this...
Again, all these dogs are not under control. They all rely on the slip lead. So this guy really doesn't know what he's doing, because these dogs rely on a slip lead to keep them in control. They have to push their butt to sit down. They have to force them up like this to keep them there from going towards the other dog for a sniff.
He's about to react, so you've got to be ahead of him. When he's doing this, you give a little leave it.
No, you don't. No, you shouldn't.
That, hey, can't do this behavior.
Forcing the dog to sit again. Dog is uncomfortable. Dog is stressed.
Good. Okay, a little walk around, Shani. Good job. That was quicker. That was much quicker.
Great.
By you.
He's just teaching this guy to be just as unnecessarily cruel as he is.
Accountability.
Accountability bullshit. Dude, the only one that needs accountable is you, and you're never going to hold yourself accountable for being a bully of a dog trainer.
This is a very big dog for Boston to deal with. Very big.
And you know what? There's, again, pressure of this dog's presence. It's not just them walking by each other. It's not just 1, 2, 3 and we're done. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. However long they're going to stay there, and then they move away.
Okay. You're doing great.
And there's no rewarding now that he's calm. Whatever happened to the reward? It's only punishment.
We would never purposely put him in an environment this close if we can help it. But it may happen.
Yeah, of course. The one time it may happen when a bunch of squirrels and aliens come down from the sky and it's raining meatballs and we're all, under attack by some other civilization. Okay, that might happen. But we don't work on that every single day. You don't need to work to prepare this. Otherwise, then you work your way up to that point. You start from the point where the dog is the most comfortable and you work your way up to that point. You don't just start and throw in the middle of the lion's den and expect him to be okay with everything, or correct him every time he gets freaked out by a lion approaching him.
you've got to try and deal with it. And it's important that we don't
Dragging this dog
think that
along.
we're never going to get a bark again. Any dog's capable of barking. What I want though is for you guys to be able to stop the barking, and he goes, oh, my bad. So now we could be rewarded.
So you're correcting him for telling you you're too close to another dog. He's too close to another dog. He's too nervous. You're correcting him for telling you that he's communicating to you. Of all these times, people are always talking about, oh, we communicate to dogs using slip leads and using prong collars and e-collars and all this bullshit. No, the dog is actually communicating to you by barking at another dog through his behavior that we are too close. We need to back up, or you need to help me feel more comfortable around other dogs. And don't just force me here and force me to put up with it, because this guy is going to stop using the treats real quick. Just like this trainer. They're going to stop using the treats and they're only going to go to correction. That's why you don't need correction. I don't teach people correction. The most correction I do is withholding a treat. If I have to get a dog out of a situation, then I'll pull him out of a situation. But that's not what we prepare for. I mean, if it happens, it happens, but we don't plan on that. Can we prepare for it? Sure. But I do that by, if I had him here and we were walking up and another dog is walking up on us, then I might give us a little bit more room. Or if we're standing here and there's another dog that's coming around, my camera just reset. If there's another dog that's coming around the corner, then I'm going to turn around and make sure that I give a space. I'm not going to wait. Or if the person says, oh, here's another dog, so my dog will react, so you can see that they react. I avoid that other dog because I know this dog is going to react. And I know that we're not ready for that. So I make sure that I give us more space so that way we are ready for it and we can control that environment.
If he looks up at you, we're going to mark and reward. We're going to say yes and reward.
But the dog is too close. He's too over threshold, so he's not going to look up at the human.
I mean, if he looks, we can mark and reward, but I don't even mind you rewarding if he's looking at the dog and not barking. It's not a terrible thing. Any sort of positive reinforcement.
Right now he's pulling.
Doing good. Reward, yes. Try
Too
and
slow.
use that yes marker.
Dragging the dog. Lip licks.
If your friend has ADHD, this is the gift you're looking for. Quick reminder, the best gifts aren't big or fancy.
Yes.
Good. Reward for that.
Beautiful. We want to use that yes. Good. Nice. Have that reference. Dog
So you don't need, you only need to use this and make it so much easier on the person.
Yeah,
so
good.
what? Okay, so if the dog reacts, then just move back a little bit. Now he has them trapped because he has this dog, he has them against a fence and he has this dog too close to them. I would be moving the dog away and I would say, okay, he reacted. That was my fault. We got him too close to the other dog, or we got the other dog too close to him. I take accountability for the mistakes I make as a dog trainer. He needs to too.
You see that coming?
But he doesn't see it as a mistake.
That's where we've got to be on your dog. We've got to be like, we're trying to avoid getting to that point. Come this way a bit.
And this is not realistic where you're going to have a dog walking circles in front of you, 10 feet away from you. You can get away from that area in most cases. Otherwise, then don't walk on paths that are really, really tight until you can, until your dog is comfortable in an area like that.
Okay, make him sit. Now, sit now. Good.
No, don't do that.
That's the way.
That's not the way.
Like I said to you at the start, this dog is too old to go, hey, never be aggressive and be friends. But good, but he's not too
unnecessary.
Old to learn that. Can't do that behavior.
Now, see, people see this and think that these are really good results. They're not good results. It's easy to correct a dog. This dog is still just learning helplessness. This dog is just developing that. Now, occasionally he's going to get a treat, but these people are not going to keep treating him for very long. They're just going to go into the pop and correct and jerk and yank and all that. I can almost promise you that that's what's going to happen. And I don't care that they're sitting next to another dog or that they're walking past another dog. All they're going to do is just start correcting the dog. So that's it. I'm done with this guy. I'm done with this video. So anyways, thanks for watching. Hope you all got something from this. Go say hi to your little critters. Say hi to for me. Give them some kind of love that they appreciate. Until next time, practice peace, patience, and positivity.